God didn't fix it, He didn't explain it, He didn't remove the pain, but He stayed. And sometimes that's the only miracle we get. God didn't fix it, He didn't explain it, He didn't remove the pain, but He stayed. And sometimes that is the only miracle we receive. There are moments in life when faith becomes confusing, not because we stopped believing, but because nothing changed after we prayed. You asked, you waited, you trusted, and still the door remained closed. The pain stayed present. The silence stretched longer than expected. This is the place where many people quietly lose their faith, not loudly, not dramatically, but slowly, in the private spaces of disappointment. Not because God was denied, but because God did not act the way they were taught He should. We are often told that faith produces results, that belief leads to breakthroughs, that trust guarantees visible answers. But the deeper story of Scripture is quieter than that. It speaks of a God who does not always intervene, but who always remains. Job cried out with questions that were never answered. His suffering was not explained. His losses were not justified. God did not offer reasons. He offered presence. And that presence changed everything, not by fixing the situation, but by refusing to leave it. If you are listening to this and thinking that nothing has changed for you, that your prayers still feel unanswered, this reflection is for you. Because the absence of a miracle is not the absence of God. Sometimes the most sacred thing God offers is Himself, sitting with you in the unanswered moment, staying when the outcome remains uncertain. Scripture tells us that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. It does not say He will immediately solve what is broken. It says He will be close. And closeness is not passive. Closeness holds you together when understanding falls apart. Closeness keeps you breathing when hope feels thin. There are seasons when God does not move the mountain, not because He is distant, but because He is teaching us how to survive in its shadow. This is not a lack of faith. This is faith stripped of illusion, a faith that no longer demands answers, only presence. If you are still here, still listening, still breathing through disappointment, it is because God stayed. And sometimes that quiet staying is the deepest form of love we will ever know. There is a kind of faith that looks strong on the surface, but collapses the moment life stops making sense. It depends on explanations, on outcomes, on visible signs that everything will work out in the end. But there is another kind of faith, quieter and deeper, that does not need answers in order to remain standing. This faith does not explain the pain. It does not justify the waiting. It does not pretend the loss is smaller than it is. Instead, it holds you when everything else begins to slip. This is the faith that sustains rather than explains. It is the faith that stays when prayers feel heavy and hope feels tired. Jesus Himself lived this kind of faith. In the Garden of Gethsemane, He asked for the suffering to pass. He prayed honestly, vulnerably, without spiritual performance. And the suffering was not removed. The cross was not avoided, but He was not abandoned. The presence of the Father did not erase the pain, but it gave Him the strength to endure it. This is the part of faith that is rarely taught. We are often told how to believe for miracles, but not how to believe through silence. Yet silence is where many believers find themselves, not in rebellion, not in doubt, but in exhaustion, spiritually tired, emotionally worn, quietly wondering how to keep going when nothing feels resolved. Faith in this season is not loud. It does not declare victory. It does not rush toward meaning. It simply takes the next breath. It puts one foot in front of the other. It chooses not to let go, even without clarity. Scripture says that even though we walk through the darkest valley, we do not walk alone. The valley remains, the darkness stays, but presence transforms the experience of the journey. Faith, in its deepest form, is not understanding God's plan. It is trusting God's nearness. If you feel worn down by believing, if you feel tired of hoping, this is not weakness. This is where mature faith begins. A faith that does not need to be certain in order to be faithful. A faith that allows God to be close, even when nothing makes sense. And sometimes, being held is more powerful than being healed. This is usually the moment where people rush to offer hope, where words try to close the story too quickly, where faith is forced into a happy ending it has not reached yet. But today, we will not do that. Because some seasons in life do not resolve neatly. Some prayers remain unanswered. Some wounds take longer than expected. Some chapters stay open longer than we would like. And still, God stays. If you are in a season where nothing has been fixed, where clarity has not come, where faith feels fragile and hope feels quiet, you are not behind and you are not failing. You are simply living inside a chapter that has not closed yet. Scripture is honest about this reality. Not every psalm ends in celebration. Not every prayer is followed by visible change. Many sacred words end in longing, not resolution. They leave us resting in trust rather than standing in victory. The Bible does not rush pain, and neither should we. It invites us not to understand everything, but to be still. Be still and know that I am God. Not understand, not control, not explain. Just be still. Stillness is not weakness. It is surrender without answers. It is choosing presence over certainty. It is allowing God to remain close, even when outcomes remain unclear. Nothing may change today. The situation may remain. The waiting may continue. The silence may stay. This reflection does not promise relief or solutions. It offers something quieter and deeper. God is still here, and sometimes that has to be enough. If these words met you where you are, stay with them for a moment. Let them breathe with you. And if you need a space where faith is allowed to be honest, where God is present even without answers, you are welcome to return here. You do not have to rush healing. You do not have to resolve everything tonight. Just remain. You are not remaining alone.
God is not finished with me. God is not finished with me. What He started, He will complete. Every promise still stands, I believe. God is not finished with me. God is not finished with me. Even here in the waiting, He is working silently. When my strength feels empty, when my prayers feel weak, when the night lasts longer than I ever believed. I remember Your promise. You don't abandon your children. You don't forget what you do. God is not finished with me. God is not finished with me. What He started, He will complete. Every promise still stands, I believe. In the middle of the process, in the space between now and then, you are shaping my heart. Even when I don't understand, you were with Joseph in the prison. You were with David in the cave. You were with Hannah in her waiting. And you are with me today. God is not finished with me. God is not finished with me. Delay is not denial. You're still moving faithfully. I don't walk by what I see. I don't stand on how I feel. I stand on every word you spoke, every promise sealed. Even when I feel unworthy, even when I feel small, you speak to my destiny. Not my weakness, not my fault. God is not finished with me. God is not finished with me. What He started, He will complete. Every promise still stands, I believe. God is not finished with me. God is not finished with me. In the silence, in the waiting, you are working silently. You are building what I cannot see, aligning what feels unclear. And one day I will look back and say, God was faithful here. God is not finished with me. God is not finished with me. What He started,